As we continue to reflect on progress made and salute our heroes in the process of development, the world is being aptly reminded to prioritize action over rhetoric, sustainable development over short-term gain, peace over political expedience, solidarity over insularity, and people over power. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. In today's lineup, we bring you stories of progressive actions for economic growth. Also, a hero who fought selflessly for the rights and freedom of the less fortunate and the oppressed. Later, we'll get to know what the honors and awards persons can achieve in the 5 Jamaican orders of the Societies of Honor, which will feature significantly on National Heroes Day. For all that and so much more, please stay with us.
That's the old way of doing things. Introducing Government of Jamaica Electronic Procurement, a speedy, transparent and accessible online method used to bid for government contracts. Contact the Ministry of Finance and Planning for more information.
Jamaica's Sustainable Development Strategy is one which targets the growth of the productive sector with local and export market potential. This is a fiscally prudent move by the government as it implements a more credible macroeconomic program. Let's find out more. The country is on a growth path. And that means the government is busy facilitating and implementing programs to empower individuals through sustainable business opportunities.
I started out as an investigating scientist. I'm a part of a joint venture with the Jamaica Agricultural Development Foundation and the University of the West Indies, where I conducted research to localize the techniques of growing cotton in Jamaica. And from that I obtained an MPhil degree. I moved over into a pilot commercial project. Then soon after, I became a full commercial contracted farmer with the Jamaica Agricultural Development Foundation.
Otis Francis is one of 3 farmers now operating a combined 300 acres of cotton farms in St. Mary and St. Catherine. These farms specialize in premium West Indian Sea Island cotton. Through bilateral partnership between the Jamaica Agricultural Development Foundation and the government of Japan, $11 million was spent to revive the sector. Well-needed equipment such as high crop tractor, a boom sprayer and inter-row cultivator were purchased in 2014 to drive production, and today the success is evident.
We have reaped or harvested a total of 41,000 pounds of seed cotton to date. That translates into 8,500 pounds of lint. The first positive impact that the equipment will have is the speed at which we can get things done. The speed and the ease. Also, with mechanization, we find that the cost to undertake certain activities is lowered.
Cotton reaped from this field in Old Harbour St. Catherine will be exported to Venezuela, and the estimated earnings is 9 million Jamaican dollars. This is just a fraction of the potential foreign exchange earning of $1 billion for the country.
West Indian Sea Island cotton presents an immense opportunity for Jamaica to increase foreign exchange earnings and thereby positively impact the economy.
The rejuvenation of the West Indian Sea Island cotton industry also presents other economic opportunities. When the seeds are separated from the cotton, it can be integrated into animal feed.
The seed is very high in protein content, and actually it's being looked at to be incorporated as cattle feed, and that process is actually a reality right now.
And the sustainability factor of the industry is also looking good.
One most important thing is that we have an accessible and reliable labor force within the environment. It is good in the sense that 8 months out of the year there's practically job available to the otherwise unemployed.
Approximately 200 persons are currently employed on the farms in St. Catherine and close to that figure in St. Mary. And the workers are playing their part to ensure that the sector remains viable.
Well, me is the man where spray, plow land, cut furrow, plant, mechanic work on the tractor, also the machine and everything. So from those things all right, cotton must go on.
And with continued support through the government's economic programs, the sector is expected to grow from the current 300 acres to 800 within the 2015-2016 crop year. The long-term target is 5,000 acres by 2017. But even better, Mr. Francis has his own aspiration for his farm.
For next crop, we're looking to at least double the acreages. The current acreage is being grown now, which should move us up to 600 acres. The vision for this farm is to have most of the steps prior to harvesting mechanized.
Through smart spending by the government, pockets of businesses are coming on stream. Foreign exchange earnings are increasing with new overseas investment opportunities. And most of all, jobs are being created.
The JIS Heritage Poster Competition is here again. If you are an artistic teenager, the JIS Heritage Poster Competition is just for you. All registered secondary school students are eligible to enter. All you have to do is this: complete the entry form on the JIS website, jis.gov.jm. Then create a poster using images provided in the picture resources on the JIS website. And the topic? A moment in the life of a Jamaican national hero. Ensure that your poster is no larger than 11 inches by 17 inches and keep a copy of your poster. Posters will be judged on interpretation of the topic, originality, and presentation. Now for the submission details. Upload computer-designed posters using a cloud storage service such as Dropbox, SkyDrive, or Google Drive. Mail or drop off illustrated posters at the JIS head office or Montego Bay office. Deadline for submission is Saturday, October 31, 2015. So come on, unleash your creativity and win lots of prizes. For more information, contact the Jamaica Information Service at 926-374-026, extension 2137-2023, or email heritageposter@jis.gov.jm.
From as early as in his 20s, he became passionate about religion and about the rights of the colored or blacks among whom he lived. Freedom, justice and equality for all represented his mantra. He empowered blacks or colored people in Jamaica to overcome the hardships, helping them to secure and plant their own lands, providing an alternative to working on the plantations for pitifully low wages. He is one of our national heroes.
In the early 1800s, the wealthy Scottish planter Joseph Gordon owned a large sugar estate in the parish of St. Andrew and lived in a beautiful Georgian great house on its grounds. In 1820, Joseph Gordon fathered a son with a slave woman. He was named George William Gordon. George William was not born a slave, although he was born before emancipation. He spent most of his childhood in the house set up by his father for his children born of this slave woman. From an early age, George William's father noticed his keen interest in books and encouraged him to study. The young Gordon was also a great orator and took part in religious debates at an early age. Gordon's commitment to religion never waned. He started an independent Baptist organization and erected a tabernacle in Kingston where he often preached. Gordon helped his followers to open chapels in many parts of the island and also ordained several deacons, including Paul Bogle of Stony Gut. In later years, this educated gentleman became a successful businessman. He concentrated on buying and leasing lands, which he cut up and sold or sublet cheaply to the Negro peasants, who at the time had great difficulty obtaining land. He also sold them livestock and organized a marketing system through which they could sell their produce at fair prices. Emancipation was not a welcome change for most of the planter class in Jamaica, and many tried by various means to hinder the progress of blacks. Gordon was a member of the wealthy middle class who did his best to help the free slaves. When he entered politics, he used this medium to speak out frequently about the unjust treatment of this group. By 1865, the social and economic crisis in Jamaica had reached a dangerous level. The harshness and insensitivity of the then Governor Edward Eyre did nothing to relieve the tension. Gordon was outraged by the conditions he saw. Although he wanted to see a change in the social and material conditions of the blacks, he never advocated violence as a means of achieving this change. As a member of the Jamaican Assembly, he spoke out on behalf of the poor Negroes and bitterly criticized Governor Eyre. It was therefore ironic that he was blamed for instigating and supporting the Morant Bay Rebellion in St. Thomas. Despite the lack of evidence, Governor Eyre issued a warrant for his arrest. On hearing this, George William Gordon gave himself up to the authorities and was quickly taken to Morant Bay, where he was illegally tried and sentenced to death. Gordon was hanged with 18 other persons on October 23, 1865. The residential area, now known as Cherry Gardens, is the former estate where George William Gordon was born.
Householders, business people, school administrators, be on the alert. Help control the mosquito population. Destroy breeding sites. Empty old tires and all other containers where water can settle. Bore holes in old cans. Cover water drums and garbage cans. wash flower pots and vases, and clean pet dishes regularly. Protect yourself from mosquito bites. Cover your body as much as possible and use mosquito repellent containing DEET.
In Jamaica, there are 6 societies of honor that can be conferred on persons who have provided outstanding service to the nation. Other national awards include badges of honor for gallantry, meritorious service, and long and faithful service. Let's take a closer look at these honors.
In just the first decade of its newly independent status, Jamaica conceived and created a program of national honors and awards. The system was created in 1969 with the passage of the National Honors and Awards Act in July of that year. The program was designed to recognize Jamaicans or foreign nationals who, by their service, had made a meaningful and significant contribution to national development. It was decided that formal recognition of service to Jamaica and its citizens would be done through the conferment of the 6 orders of the Societies of Honor and 2 national awards. The highest order is that of National Hero.
That is granted extremely sparingly, may never be again, to people who have made an enormous contribution to the development potentially of Jamaica, to the freedom of people in the period during slavery and so on, and many of whom sadly paid with their lives.
Persons given this honor are referred to as the Right Excellent and awarded the post-nominal title National Hero of Jamaica. The Order of the Nation comes next. This was instituted in 1973 during the first term of then Prime Minister Michael Manley.
He wished that the Governors General would no longer be knighted by the Queen, and they wanted a special title, a special honor, in lieu of the Knighthood Grand Cross. And so this new Order of the Nation was created with its special title of Most Honourable prefix. And because knights' wives are termed lady, they wanted a counterpart, and so the Most Honourable went also to the spouse.
The Order of the Nation is conferred upon Governors General and also to persons who have been appointed Prime Minister of Jamaica. Persons given this honor may attach the letters ON to their names. Created in 2003, the Order of Excellence, which follows next in ranked order, may be regarded as parallel or of similar weight to the Order of the Nation. This investiture is reserved for foreign heads of state and has only been conferred once to former President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, during his visit to Jamaica in 2003. The third highest Jamaican order, the Order of Merit, is conferred upon persons who have achieved eminent international distinction in the fields of science, the arts, literature, or any other endeavor.
It's awarded about every 5 years, if that. But most important, there's a limit to the number of living members, full members at any one time. And that, incidentally, is not an honor available on an honorary basis to foreigners.
Membership in this order entitles the recipient to the pre-nominal style of the Right Honourable and to the post-nominal title Order of Merit or OM. Now on to the Order of Jamaica. Its motto reads, "For a Covenant of the People," and this honor may be conferred on any Jamaican national or foreign citizen who has distinguished himself or herself in service to the country.
That is perhaps the first of the more general honors where there isn't a specific restriction as in the ones higher, including National Hero.
The Order of Distinction carries 2 ranks, Officer and Commander. Either rank is conferred on any citizen of Jamaica who renders outstanding and important services to the island in any field of endeavor. This ties in with its motto, Distinction Through Service. Various badges and medals of honor are also presented to recognize excellence among the citizens of the nation.
The Medal of Honor existed in the original system, and you had the Medal of Honor restricted entirely to uniformed services.
These include police officers, members of the Jamaica Defense Force, fire service, and correctional officers.
The others are Medal of Honor for meritorious service, and in the JDF Reserves, the Medal of Honor for long service and good conduct.
There is also the Badge of Honor for gallantry, and these 3 categories of award are also given to civilians by way of the Badge of Honor.
Obey road signs and markings. They are there for our safety. Stop at a pedestrian crossing to allow pedestrians standing at the curb to cross the road. Never drive off while a pedestrian is still on the pedestrian crossing. When driving in slow-moving traffic, avoid stopping on a pedestrian crossing. Stop to allow the clearance of the crossing before proceeding. At a junction, stop at the stop bar, not beyond it. Bus lanes are for buses only. Their use by a private vehicle constitutes a traffic offense. No vehicle other than a bus should occupy a bus bay. Do not drive beyond the stop bar in anticipation of the light changing to green. This is dangerous and is against the law. Remain at the stop bar if the queue across the junction is not moving. Blocking the junction will impede traffic flow in the other direction when the lights change to green. Obey the law. It saves money. It saves time. It saves lives.
A message from the Road Safety Unit, Ministry of Transport and Works. Remember, road safety begins with you.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. A significant element of government's 381 megawatt project to reduce the country's energy bill came to fruition this week with the launch of JPS's $2.5 billion project to convert its Bogue plant in St. James into a dual facility for automotive diesel oil and liquefied natural gas LNG. Energy Minister Philip Paulwell said this and other initiatives would provide a channel for new opportunities, including the potential to establish Jamaica as a Caribbean energy hub.
We are so well placed geographically to establish a hub. Not only Jamaicans want gas. Gas can be distributed from Jamaica to Cuba when the embargo is lifted, to Haiti, to Dumbreck, to those of us in the Western Caribbean. And Jamaica can facilitate that, every ounce of that gas.
The Health Ministry announced this week that it was enhancing mosquito control activities in all parishes. The ministry says the current increased mosquito population causing concern for citizens is due to mosquitoes that lay their eggs in the soil during the dry period, which are then hatched once it rains. These reportedly do not generally spread diseases but can cause discomfort. While the ministry carries out fogging in communities and schools, persons are being urged to take action to get rid of mosquitoes in their environment. The House of Representatives has passed the Cybercrimes Bill, which sets out to incorporate new offenses such as computer-related fraud or forgery, the use of computers for malicious communication, and unauthorized disclosure of investigation. The bill also strengthens the fines and penalties for cybercriminals.
What we are trying to deal with here are persons who deliberately provide or are accessories to those who are committing criminal activities.
Police personnel attached to the Mobile Reserve now have a state-of-the-art computer center to better carry out their duties. The $3 million computer center with free Wi-Fi access was paid for by the Universal Service Fund and developed in collaboration with the Ministry of National Security. Technology Minister Philip Paulwell says it's just one of the initiatives aimed at improving the technological capacity of the police force.
In addition, we intend to complete a project to provide 73 police stations with broadband internet access. So far, 5 have been completed, and the installation of the others is gathering momentum, and the entire project is on track for completion before the end of this financial year. The total cost of this project, which is being undertaken by Flow, is about $7 billion.
Meanwhile, the JCF received 9 of 10 Boston whaler vessels this week to increase its capacity to intercept illicit guns, drugs, and people who seek to enter Jamaica by sea. The United States government made the $1.5 million donation.
Through our partnership, the JCF is expecting to be provided in a short time with bicycles to enhance the fleet of patrol bikes that we have around the island. And within the next few months, I will call the members of the media here once again to witness the handover of body-worn cameras that will be used to ensure that police accountability is boosted.
A new block to house 140 students has been opened at the Four Paths Primary School in Clarendon. It's among measures to remove the school from the shift system.
Let us try by next year this time to do what is necessary to get you off the shift system. That is what I really want us to accept today.
And finally, the little ones at Medina Primary and Infant School in Manchester are now enjoying new upgraded sanitation facilities. The new bathroom block was built by Food for the Poor Jamaica as part of the Education Ministry's ongoing program to replace pit latrines in schools island-wide. And those were some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
A healthy and educated people living in a clean, natural environment, reducing crime, improving the justice system and governance, building a prosperous economy. It's not just a vision, it's reality. Learn about the plan. Join the vision.
My country, Jamaica, has a rich heritage and is very unique. If we all pull together, we can make it the place of choice to live, work, raise family, and to do business.
For more information on Vision 2030, call the Planning Institute of Jamaica or visit vision2030.gov.jm, your parish library, school library, or the Jamaica Information Service.
This is where we take our break on Jamaica Magazine for today. Join us again tomorrow for another informative show. In the meantime, please keep the link. Use our Facebook and Twitter pages. Visit our YouTube channel and the JIS website to see these and other features. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson, reminding that we can do one thing each day towards achieving a worthwhile goal. Until next time, do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.